See, it's one thing to have a source reader tell you that a character is completely broken and potentially is the strongest character in the entire anime medium. And it's a completely other thing to see an episode like episode 4 of My Instant Death Ability, where I think it's been proven. I haven't seen everything this man's gonna do. I don't even think we've reached the first big moment of the insanity that he can pull. But there's two things that were said in this episode that basically confirm that I don't think there's any competition. You can make arguments like an Arceus from Pokemon, the creator of all, right? You know, there's characters in these shows that are the supreme one, who control everything, control life or death in the palm of their hands. There's characters who are invincible, you can't kill them, like that's part of their ability. And that's all well and good, but when you have a character who said two things in this episode, I control what's living. I decide. If I say something's alive, I decide that and they will die. That alone is a can of worms. So zombies? A wand? Doesn't matter. If he wants to say the building dies, that building's gonna crumble. But that's not the biggest thing about this. He can kill things in different dimensions. That vampire talks about her real body being killed in another dimension. So that means, in theory, if you wanted to make some crazy death battle in your head, doesn't matter. As soon as something tries to fight him in another dimension, once he either masters everything or really figures out how limitless his possibilities are with this ability, they'd be dead before they can do anything, because the idea that the author went for with Yogiri as a character is that he's the end, that he wanted to make the most overpowered character, where with these other characters, on paper, they have similar limitless possibilities, but they're not designed to be broken to the point that nothing can kill them. Like, it's usually wrote in a way that like, oh, anything you punch is one-shotted, or, you know, they can create anything in their mind, but it like doesn't matter when the author could put himself in this story, and even that wouldn't be enough to stop him at this point. He gave him such an open and shut way of being OP that I'm left absolutely speechless by how broken he is. That was incredible. I have a full live reaction over on my Patreon. If you want to see my mind break, I had to pause when he said that he controls what is alive, because that changes everything. So over there if you're interested. I mean, I'm blown away by this show. It has no right on paper being as good as it is. On one hand, it's just kind of funny. It kind of feels like a parody, but the biggest thing that like sells me on this show is just not knowing how far the expectations of a character with instant death abilities could actually go. Because here's the thing. Anyone who watches the show Ashura, which airs on Wednesdays, this show airs on Thursdays in case you're watching in the future. The idea that I go from yesterday's episode where basically there's a girl named Kia in that show who has the ability to command, right? Like anything she commands will happen. So it's kind of like a miniature version of instant death magic. And there's a lot of characters with the ability to command, you have to do what you say. But the thing about that is it's so simple when you compare it to Yogiri, who, this man, it's so weird because he's not the type of character who wants to go out of his way and just kill everyone. Like, he could have easily slaughtered that entire group that was surrounding him. He only killed who jumped out at him because obviously they were trying to kill him. The thing that makes him so crazy on like a personal level is that he feels so inhuman because he doesn't show remorse. It's one thing to like defend yourself, it's another to just be like, oh, I guess there is a bit of a problem when you just casually kill. It's like, he's so like, there's wires that are clearly crossed, but everyone he's killed or has put 6 feet under has either deserved it because they're just horrible or they tried to hurt him. So it's all been either self-defense or you're not really shedding a tear. But it is a little weird when you watch just how many bodies are hitting the floor, but it's fun. It really is. It's psycho. It absolutely is. I'm not denying that, but it's fun. And I think whether it's a giant shadowy monster that was dissolving anything it touches, like as soon as it touched that building, it dissolved. And I'm like, okay, here's a great test. And honestly, they had me fooled. I mean, for like basically half the episode, I'm talking about how, you know, it's like clearly he's broken, nothing can stop him. And I thought I had pie on my face for a brief moment because when he kills the thing, or at least what I thought was the attempt, I thought it backfired because there's all these like raining missiles. And I was like, oh shit, I guess he's not as strong as we thought. No, like he did that. It's just Vampire over here is just launching all of her duplicates. And it's really cool, the idea of how his like tracing back can work, because once they used this like shield, this like foldable cloth that acted as like this big barrier, he was able to kill one of them, and by tracing the source, because they're all duplicates and they're all the same, all of the ones that were falling ended up disintegrating and dying as well. What was really cool is that you're dealing with a vampire who basically has wanted death for as long as she wanted, at least based on like 2 episodes back, give or take, when she was fighting that one hero kid who basically just didn't know what he signed up for. She ends up just almost dying. She just says like, wow, I can't believe this. My body in my other dimension just is gone. and then she falls over and dies. And I'm like, okay, if he can go through dimensions, like, it's busted. Maybe you can make the argument it only works for dimensions in his universe. It doesn't matter, bro. Like, this guy's designed to be the end, and the end it is. A god could pop up in this world, the god of this world, right? Let's just say the author writes the absolute end be all, who says, I'm invincible. No matter what your powers do, it doesn't matter. Like that, he destroys the essence. He decides what's alive, and whether you're in a dimension, another universe, he will kill you. Like, I don't think there's a limit in space. I don't think there's really any limits at all. The only thing that's really holding him back is him not knowing what he can and can't do fully, which is where the experimentation comes in. And the idea that this vampire ended up having another, like, version of herself, but it was her, but it wasn't her, so it's like this young kid looking one doesn't have her memories, but I guess technically is her, but it allows for her to kind of like start again, but just trying to avoid him. Clearly that's not going to work out. I don't know if it's going to be like a companion, an enemy, a rival, I don't know, but interesting nonetheless. The show continues to baffle me by just how broken it is, and I think on paper, I thought I would get bored of it by now, but because they made it so silly and just out of pocket from the beginning, I'm so entertained by the nonsense while simultaneously just trying to think of scenarios of characters that would even have a shot. There's a lot of busted anime characters, there's a lot of busted characters in general, but I don't think if you took every god level being in media and threw it at him, I just don't see with how the author made it so open and shut of anything he wants to die will die. That's not, oh, but what if it doesn't matter? He decides what's living. That literally seals the deal, and there's probably going to be even more of those moments going forward. I wasn't expecting to like this show. I wasn't expecting to love this show. I wasn't expecting to gush about this show, but we're 4 episodes deep, and I'm ready for season 2 already. I mean, between this show, which airs on Thursday, and tomorrow on Fridays with the Wrong Way to Use Healing Magic, those are 2 shows I literally thought were going to be generic as hell and weren't going to be that interesting. And they're probably 2 of the shows that have surprised me the most by how they went in a completely different and unique direction for both the kind of like isekai style shows, but also the power fantasy shows that you're typically used to. I mean, I'm loving this. This is definitely one of the most entertaining shows for me this season, and I just love thinking about limitless possibilities for the most limitless character who decides what's alive and what's not. Let me know your thoughts on my instant death ability episode 4. How broken is this character for you? I mean, I know we all see the source reader saying how broken, but an episode like this really proves it. So thoughts down below, leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course, ring that bell. And like I mentioned, we have a full live reaction over on my Patreon, and hey, while you're over there, you also get a video shout out. So today we have Dawn, Chemist, and Squealeton, so I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.